I'd now like to invite Johan Harvard, who will be the moderator for this session. He is the director at Combient Group, where he is supporting leadership teams of some of Sweden's largest companies to accelerate their digital transformation. Welcome.
Thank you.
And before working at Combient, he worked for the Swedish government, where he visited India multiple times to lay the foundations for bilateral collaboration in the area of artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0. Fantastic to have you here. And we also, now you will have give an introduction to our Fireside chat guests. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I think the Swedish-Indian collaboration really has proven its worth here over the last couple of years. So thank you very much, and welcome to this Fireside chat. I'm joined here by two quite distinguished guests, and I'm very happy to have both of you here. And I think both of you have really an important role in making Industry 4.0 come alive in companies throughout the world, but in two different ways. So we're here with Erik Ekudden, who is Group CTO at Ericsson. Warm welcome to you. And as well, Mr. Jeevan Prakash, who is Vice President at L&T Technology Services, as well as Managing Director for the operations in the Nordics and the Benelux countries. Great to have you here, guys.
Thanks.
So, Erik, could I start with you? I think most people here, and as well in the audience, know about Ericsson. But what is your role related to Industry 4.0?
As Ericsson, well, I think we have... in a way, we have evolved technology, mobile technology in particular, over a number of generations. And as we started to sketch what 5G should be almost 10 years ago, we realized that the industrial cases, the enterprise cases, would be very important. So we actually built 5G already from the research, from the standardization, the early system to really fit into Industry 4.0. And I think that's what we see now. Technology is finding its way into advanced manufacturing cases, all kinds of logistics, transport cases, and many, many more things. So I think while we have been very focused on the consumer space for almost 30 years, now we're opening up and really make sure that this global technology, 8 billion mobile subscriptions, is made available also to industries. And I think especially Industry 4.0 with kind of all the data collection and everything that's happening there is well suited to 5G and the way around.
All right. Impressive stuff. Thanks. And Jeevan, you guys at L&T Technology, you're working across the world to really accelerate and implement Industry 4.0. Can you tell us a bit about maybe how the Nordics differ in your view? Is there something else that sets the Nordics aside from when implementing Industry 4.0 compared to your other activities?
No, I would say it's very industry specific rather than putting it as a region specific. That's how I would see it. Yeah. Nordics in general has been, a lot of homework, or what you say as, a consensus-based approach is quite different, takes a bit more of time for an adaptation point of view, whereas we see US far more aggressive in this particular space. But if I stick to Industry 4.0, with innovation being very focal for Nordic customers, I have seen far more of traction in this particular segment in Nordics than I would say with the rest of the clients, at least at the proof of concept stage, adaptation stage on the industrial side. Automotive is quite common, whether it is Nordics or other regions.
Yeah. So apart from automotive, is there any other industrial verticals do you think are standing out as early adopters?
So, if I look at from an industry-based perspective, automotive has been well ahead. Yeah. Right. Industrial has picked up in the last 4 to 5 years, I would say. A lot more of adaptations that have happened. Again, if I take from industrial, if I go into heavy engineering, I think there's a bit of a laggardness that is there on the marine segment, on the construction segment and stuff. But if I have to look at pandemic and how pandemic has changed the entire demographics today, I think 2/3 of the manufacturers globally, in some form factor, are implementing Industry 4.0 solutions. It's not an option anymore.
Right.
Maybe 2 years back they could have taken it a bit more lighter. Yeah. And now they've seen that people who had invested on digital technologies have done far better during pandemic than those who not.
How does that overlap with things you're saying?
Well, I think we are trying to address many of those sectors, of course, because the digital infrastructure really needs to support everything from wide area transport all the way to smart manufacturing. But maybe one good example is what we are doing in our own factories. So the 5G factory in Texas, in Louisville, where we are, it's a new build. So we had the luxury or the opportunity to build it right from scratch. So we used 5G as an infrastructure in the smart manufacturing to build 5G base stations for the world. And we really, exactly to the point that now it's an imperative. We got, I think, 24% lower energy consumption. We got 75% less water in the plant, and a lot of other benefits because we are connecting everything with 5G, because we're doing it right from scratch. That particular factory has actually made headlines because it's one of the few identified global lighthouses by World Economic Forum. So we're using that also as a way to spread the word. This is how you can digitalize using the latest technologies. This is the kind of gains that you get. But then, of course, we do a lot with our customers. It's about smart ports, it's about smart airports, it's about kind of all the other things where 5G comes in.
Right. All right. So Jeevan, I think it was actually 10 years ago that when the German government launched the Industry 4.0 concept overall, even though obviously it's been around for longer than that. So it's been 10 years now. What do you think about the adoption rate and the pace of adoption of this technology penetrating out into manufacturers across the world? Is it going according to what we were hoping and praying for, or is it maybe a bit slower?
So I have this view, about 15 years back, when everybody said cloud, it was in the cloud. Or 15 or 20 years back, right? Everybody talked about it, nobody knew how to go about. And today, cloud is a very matured technology that we use. Industry 4.0 was the same. If you ask me 10 years back, everybody talked about it. It was a buzz. Adaptation has been slow. Again, modularization, having more factories which are having a feasibility, well-structured manufacturing plants. Automotive segment did well, but industrial segment was slow. But to the same point that I said, I mean, today, if I look at our own L&T parent group, we are one of the first industrial giants in India to have started what is called as a digital factory, Factories of the Future, in 2016, right? And today, when the pandemic hit and there was complete labor shortage and the travel restrictions and stuff, we were well adapted as a company, both one in terms of repurposing our manufacturing plants to help the government for all this oxygen generator build-up and stuff. So there was that flexibility that we bought in. Today, if you look at it, India still has a challenge with COVID, right, with labor. So we do virtual audits in the construction space. So entire auditing is virtual that happens. We have remote factory acceptance test that's happening. So there's a lot more that the construction, which I said was a laggard, has done ahead. And if I look at on the services part of the business, which is what I represent, today I would say from an adaptation perspective, still about 25 to 30% is what in the proof of concept stage, only about 10% which have matured Industry 4.0 solutions implemented. But the pace is increasing. I mean, if you ask us, we are busy, very busy with in fact, as we speak today, we're doing for a CPG client for 52 plants, a complete digital assessment and digital implementation along with our partners like PTC and others. So yeah, exciting days, far more pace.
Yeah, just sort of thinking about the fantastic opportunity in India itself. Of course, this is something that's we're part of it all across the world. But if you just look at India and the phenomenal, well, first of all, the part of GDP that is already connected to manufacturing and growing by from 16 to 25% or something over the coming years, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for India. But what we are also seeing is that our business, which is really the digital infrastructure operators, CSPs, they have a fantastic opportunity as well on this journey. And I think the estimate is somewhere upwards of 50%, 48% by 2030 in terms of additional revenues from digitalization across all these sectors in India.
Correct.
So they're also starting to sort of see the opportunity, invest for it, and build this infrastructure, because then you can do all the Industry 4.0, the smart use cases on top of it. But then you need to build the infrastructure first.
Correct.
So Erik, do you think India could leapfrog and accelerate the transformation by cleverly using technology now?
In a way, and I think that's what we see with this kind of technology waves, that unless you are early in adopting the latest technology, preferably international, global technology, you're losing out in terms of that sort of second wave of innovation and things that happen on top of it. And I think India has a great opportunity now. It's, of course, a fantastic market in itself, but just looking at the ambitions when it comes to things like manufacturing and what's happening in the software and services industry. So, absolutely.
So I think there is two ways to look at it. I'm sorry, I'm taking it impromptu, right? Just to add on to what Erik has mentioned. India skipped a generation in mobile, right? We didn't have a fix. We directly went into mobile. So we did that on the consumer space. Now, on the industrial segment, we're again seeing that. And I think it's a mix of not only the technology leap, the competence that the India brings in from a pure digital standpoint. But also, the early adaptation, like the way they've skipped a generation, there's high possibility that in the manufacturing segment, a bit driven by the sustainability goals that the central government is also pushing today, right? And in fact, our chairman was here a couple of weeks back, and he was talking about how the fossil-free manufacturing has become today, and most of the contracts are ending. So there's a lot more of drive happening in India, which will drive a lot more of digitalization in the plants as well.
The interesting thing about that kind of leapfrogging is that now we see that if you use modern digital infrastructure, 5G in particular, then you actually have a chance to meet the sustainability goals for 2030. We're talking about out of the 50% reduction that is required on the emission side, 1/3 of that could actually be enabled by digital technology such as 5G. And of course, India has the opportunity now to invest and accelerate into that.
Quite astounding, quite large opportunities that are really just waiting to be realized over the next couple of years. Thank you so much, both of you. Looking forward to following your future progress here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. And with that, it's time to take up the next panel as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ekudden and Mr. Prakash, and also LTTS or L&T Technology Services for their fantastic support.